Here's a review of the Laserbeam digital audio filter, kindly sent to me for testing by Richard G3CWI from SOTA Beams. The filter is on a small printed circuit board, about 40mm. It uses all surface mount parts, meaning it's really flat. You should be able to fit it inside many commercially made kit and homebrew projects. Is it worthwhile doing? Well, you'll find out in a minute when I'll demonstrate it. If your transceiver doesn't have a narrow filter, particularly for CW, then the audio filter that I'm going to review can be helpful. Or if you've got a homebrew rig that doesn't have an IF filter, for instance, it could be a direct conversion receiver, its audio bandwidth will be fairly wide. Again, this filter that I'll review could be useful. This is the Laserbeam filter module. It is a module. You don't need to assemble any of the components. I use circuit board pins to provide easier connection to external circuitry. All of the needed pins are along one side. You can either put the filter inside a transceiver or make an outboard unit. If an outboard unit, you can use an external audio amplifier to boost the output up to speaker level. Without an audio amplifier, the filter will drive a pair of low impedance headphones. I've mounted the filter module on a small piece of printed circuit board material. Mounted to that, dead bug style, is the LM386 audio amplifier. The circuit for that is in the filter's instruction manual, which you'll find on the SOTA Beams website. The other off-board components include a wide narrow switch, an LED which turns on when there's a carrier on, which could be good if you like reading CW by the light method, and a volume control, which also has an on-off switch. This is a demonstration, listening to a weak CW signal on 20 meters. This is with the narrow CW filter switched in. First thing we'll do, we'll just plug in the Laserbeam filter. This is in wide position. The audio does seem to sound a bit crisper, possibly because of the bigger speaker, so it's possibly not a fair comparison. Now we'll switch to narrow. Then back to wide. Here's a case where we've got two interfering signals. The next thing we'll do is compare the narrow filter with the 817 with the audio filter switched to narrow. This is without the audio filter. This is the 817 on narrow. Back to wide. Now we'll plug in the Laserbeams filter. That's in wide. The transceiver is in wide. And now the Laserbeams filter is in narrow, but the FT817's crystal filter is still in wide position. So what we're finding is this audio filter is performing as well as the narrow crystal filter in the FT817. Though note that it's not a perfect substitute. What we'll now try is when both filters are in circuit, the IF filter on the FT817 as well as this audio filter in the narrow position. This is the 817 in narrow position and the external audio filter in narrow position. Actually, not a lot of difference. When I have the FT817 switched in narrow or wide position, provided that this audio filter is in narrow position, it's still quite selective. Although, if there is a very strong signal close by, you'd expect the narrow IF filter to have more of an effect. This is the 817 in narrow position. Even though we're just listening to noise, there's a clear difference when the audio filter is in narrow versus when it's in wide. That shows that even though you may have narrow IF filtering, there's still some noise generated in the audio amplifier of the FT817 that's outside the bandpass that we need, and that can interfere with reception. That proves that an outboard audio filter can be beneficial. It's a little bit hard to see because of the reflection, but here's a graphic indication of the effect of the audio filter. Here, the audio filter is in wide position. You can clearly see the SSB type audio bandpass. This is it in narrow, a clear peak between 600 and 900 Hz. As a comparison, here's the phone up against the FT817 speaker. This is SSB position, and this is with the narrow filter in. You can see that despite the existence of the IF filter, there's still quite a lot of noise above 1 kHz, presumably internally generated by the audio amplifier.
Well mate, VK3YE portable for 5 watts, mate, you're doing the great. I've got the beam pointed completely opposite to you at the moment. I've got it pointed stateside, and I can't give you a real report at the moment. I was watching the 7600, but quite audible and quite readable for 5 watts, mate, so you're not doing a bad job there. VK3YE from VK4DG.
This has been my review of the Laserbeams filter module. The particular unit you saw demonstrated was the general unit, useful for both SSB and CW reception. As you saw from the demo, it proved to be effective, and I highly recommend it. Thanks to Richard, G3CWI from SOTA Beams, for supplying the review unit. We've reached a sales milestone, over 2,000 copies of minimum QRP sold. If you haven't got yours yet, have a look at my website VK3YE.com or hop onto Amazon and search minimum QRP. It could be the best investment in your QRP activity you'll ever make.